The story of the United States and China is a tale of shifting strategies and global ambitions. In the 1970s, President Nixon's visit to China ended decades of isolation, forging a pragmatic partnership during the Cold War. The U.S. aimed to pull China away from the Soviet Union, while China sought economic reform and global reintegration. Over the next 3 decades, engagement deepened. American companies flocked to China, and economic interdependence soared. The hope was that economic liberalization would lead to political openness in China. Factories in China supplied American consumers, while China invested heavily in U.S. government bonds. This chimerical relationship seemed mutually beneficial, but cracks soon appeared. China's economy boomed, but its political system remained tightly controlled by the Communist Party. The Tiananmen Square crackdown in 1989 was a stark reminder that political reform was not on the horizon. Still, the U.S. and its allies pressed on, integrating China into the World Trade Organization in 2001, hoping to bind it to global norms. Yet, China was evolving, no longer just a manufacturing hub, but a rising technological and economic power. The assumption that China would become more like the West proved misguided. Instead, China charted its own course, learning, adapting, and building its capabilities. The era of engagement was ending, giving way to a new phase defined by competition. A new chapter in U.S.-China relations was about to begin. The 2008 global financial crisis marked a turning point in U.S.-China relations. As Wall Street faltered, China's leaders saw the American model as vulnerable, not invincible. This emboldened Beijing to pursue its own path, less deferential to Western norms. In 2012, Xi Jinping rose to power, breaking from the cautious approach of his predecessors. Xi championed the Chinese dream and a more assertive foreign policy, consolidating power at home and projecting strength abroad. The era of quiet cooperation ended. Washington's faith in engagement crumbled. U.S. policymakers began to see China as a strategic rival, not a partner. Concerns grew over state-subsidized industries, intellectual property theft, and military expansion. Hopes for China as a responsible stakeholder faded, replaced by fears of a new world order centered on Beijing. The rhetoric shifted from partnership to competition. The U.S. now viewed China's rise as a zero-sum game. The stage was set for a new era of great power rivalry. Economic competition is the heart of the U.S.-China rivalry. For years, China was the world's factory and America its top customer. But trade imbalances fueled tension. The U.S. lost manufacturing jobs while China amassed wealth and influence. This imbalance erupted into a trade war with tariffs on both sides. China's Belt and Road Initiative expanded its reach, building infrastructure and forging economic ties across continents. Critics call it debt trap diplomacy, as China gains leverage over developing nations. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed global dependence on Chinese manufacturing, prompting a push to diversify supply chains. The goal: reduce reliance on China for critical goods and protect against future disruptions. The financial contest is also heating up. The US dollar remains the world's reserve currency, but China is promoting the yuan and pioneering digital currency. If the yuan challenges the dollar's dominance, global economic power could shift dramatically. This rivalry over money and supply chains is less visible than trade wars, but its impact could be even greater. The world is watching as the two giants reshape the rules of global commerce. The outcome will define economic power for generations. The race for technological supremacy is the most intense front in the US-China rivalry. Both nations are investing heavily in artificial intelligence, 5G, and quantum computing. China aims to lead in AI by 2030, leveraging vast data and state support. The US still leads in research, but the competition is fierce. The 5G battle has become a geopolitical flashpoint, with the US pressuring allies to ban China's Huawei over security concerns. Semiconductors are another battleground. Tiny chips powering everything from smartphones to missiles. The US and its allies dominate advanced chip-making, while China races to build its own industry. Washington has imposed export controls to slow China's progress. The era of open technological exchange is over. Each side seeks to set global standards and control the digital future. The winner will shape the world's economy, security, and innovation. This technological contest is about far more than gadgets. It's about who leads the 21st century. The stakes could not be higher. Military rivalry between the US and China carries the gravest risks. The US once enjoyed unchallenged military dominance, but China's rapid modernization is closing the gap. China now boasts the world's largest navy and advanced missile and cyber capabilities. Taiwan is the most dangerous flashpoint. Beijing vows reunification, while the US supports Taiwan's self-defense. Any conflict could draw in both powers, risking catastrophic war. The South China Sea is another hotspot, with China militarizing islands and the US insisting on freedom of navigation. These standoffs create constant risk of miscalculation. Alliances are crucial. The US strengthens ties with Japan, Australia, and others through groups like the Quad and AUKUS. China builds partnerships with Russia, Pakistan, and others, using economic and strategic leverage. This contest for influence is redrawing Asia's geopolitical map. The military balance is shifting, and the stakes are global. The world watches, hoping deterrence prevails over disaster. The US-China rivalry is also a battle of ideas and influence. The US champions liberal democracy, free markets, and individual rights, projecting soft power through culture and alliances. China offers an alternative authoritarian state capitalism, touting its economic success and stability. This model appeals to some developing nations seeking growth over political freedoms. Both sides wage a war of narratives through media, education, and online campaigns to shape global opinion. China's state media and Confucius institutes promote its vision, while the US counters with its own messaging. The digital space has become a new front for propaganda and influence. At stake are the rules that will govern the world: democracy and human rights, or a system more accommodating to autocracy. China argues for a new international order reflecting rising powers, while the US seeks to preserve the liberal order. The outcome will shape the character of the 21st century world. The battle for hearts and minds is far from over. The world stands at a crossroads in the US-China rivalry. One path leads to escalating conflict, potentially over Taiwan or the South China Sea, with catastrophic consequences. Another path is pragmatic coexistence, where competition is balanced by cooperation on global challenges like climate change and pandemics. A third scenario is a new Cold War, not a total split, but a world divided into rival blocs with competing standards and alliances. Most likely, the future will be a complex mix of rivalry and uneasy partnership. The choices made in Washington and Beijing will shape the 21st century. For the rest of the world, the challenge is to navigate this competition without being caught in the crossfire. The stakes are global. Peace, prosperity, and the rules of the international order hang in the balance. The hope is that wisdom and restraint will prevail. The future depends on it.